Right now, somewhere in your house, there's probably a cat sitting in a patch of sunlight, completely unbothered, like it owns the place. And honestly, it kind of does, because that cat is the last survivor of a 10,000-year war. A war against plagues, against empires, against the Catholic Church, against Vikings, against witch hunters, and against every civilization that ever tried to control it. And every single one of those civilizations lost. This video is about why. Most people think cats survived because humans loved them, because they were cute or sacred or useful. And sure, that's part of it. But the real reason is stranger and darker and more fascinating than that. Because cats didn't just survive human history, they weaponized it. And the psychological traits that let them do it are still running in the animal sitting on your couch right now. Here's where we're going. We're going to start with the trait that almost no one talks about, the biological fact that makes cats fundamentally different from every other animal humans ever domesticated. Then we're going to walk through the most brutal chapter in cat history, a period where an entire civilization tried to erase them from the earth. And then we're going to end with the mechanism, the actual strategy, if you can call it that, by which cats quietly conquered every corner of the known world without anyone realizing it was happening. Let's start with the thing that sounds like a flaw, but is actually the whole game. Cats are not fully domesticated. Every other animal humans brought into their world, dogs, horses, cows, sheep, was changed, bred, reshaped, selected over thousands of generations to be useful in specific ways. Dogs were bred to herd, to hunt, to protect. Horses were bred for speed and endurance. Even pigs were engineered more or less to grow fast and taste good. Cats were not. Researchers who study animal domestication put it this way: there was simply no need to subject cats to a selection process, because they were already perfect as they were. They showed up near human grain stores because grain stores attracted rodents. They killed the rodents. Humans benefited. Nobody had to train them. Nobody had to change them. The relationship was mutual from the start, and it never required cats to give up anything essential about themselves. That's the first survival trait. Call it the independence paradox. Every animal that was fully reshaped by humans became dependent on humans. Cats never did. A domesticated cow cannot survive without human infrastructure. A modern dog breed often can't either. But a cat can walk out your front door and survive. That's not an accident, that's the whole point. But here's what makes this even more interesting. That independence is exactly what made them a target. Because for about 3 centuries, the Catholic Church decided cats were evil. Pope Gregory IX in 1233 issued a declaration linking black cats to devil worship. It spread. It escalated. What followed was one of the most organized campaigns of animal persecution in recorded history. Cats were associated with witchcraft, with heresy, with Satan himself. They were hunted, burned, drowned, and in the Flemish town of Ypres, they were thrown from the top of a bell tower in front of cheering crowds. This wasn't a fringe event, it was a festival. The Kattenstoet. State-sanctioned, celebrated, repeated for generations. And the women who kept cats, usually elderly women who lived alone, whose only companions were their animals, were accused of witchcraft because of them. Their cats were used as evidence. Many of them were killed for it. Cats didn't just survive persecution, they caused the persecution of the humans closest to them, and they still came back. Now here's the part that should stop you cold. The civilization that tried hardest to destroy cats paid for it in millions of lives. Because while Europe was purging its cat population across the 13th and 14th centuries, something else was happening. Rodent populations were exploding. And rodents carry fleas, and fleas carry plague. The Black Death arrived in Europe in 1347. Historians who've traced the spread of the plague have noted the grim irony. The regions with the most aggressive cat persecution had the most rats, and the most rats had the most plague. The church's war on cats may have created the conditions for the worst pandemic in European history. No other animal in history has pulled off something like this. You try to erase them. You pay for it with a civilization-altering catastrophe, and they come back anyway. That's important. But if you don't understand how they spread in the first place, you're missing the most underrated part of this whole story, because cats didn't conquer the world through worship. They sailed it. The real mechanism of global cat expansion wasn't temples or mythology. It was ships. Rodents on ships don't just eat food, they chew through ropes, and a ship with chewed ropes sinks. So every vessel that wanted to survive a long voyage needed cats. When Viking trade routes expanded across Europe and into the North Atlantic, cats went with them. We only discovered this recently. The world's first large-scale study of ancient cat DNA found cat remains in Viking graves, including one in northern Germany. A Harvard population geneticist who saw the findings presented said, and this is a direct quote, "I didn't even know there were Viking cats." Nobody did. That's the point. Cats spread so quietly, so practically, so embedded in the infrastructure of human commerce that even modern scientists didn't know it had happened. They weren't carried by emperors. They weren't gifted between kings. They hitched rides on the ships that built civilization, and they did it so seamlessly that history barely recorded it. And then they did it again on the Silk Road. For years, scientists believed cats had been in China since ancient times. They were wrong. Genetic analysis revealed that the first known domestic cat in the Far East dates to somewhere between 706 and 883 CE during the Tang dynasty, and it was genetically linked to a cat from Kazakhstan. It came through the Silk Road. The bones scientists had originally identified as ancient Chinese house cats turned out to be leopard cats, a completely different species. The actual domestic cat arrived via trade route, and when it did, it didn't just survive, it replaced every competing cat lineage on an entire continent. Every domestic cat in modern China descends from the African wildcat. One lineage, total replacement. That's not survival, that's dominance. And here's the final piece that ties all of this together. Even now, when modern governments with helicopters and poison and unlimited budgets try to remove feral cat populations from small islands, not continents islands, they fail. Cats are practically impossible to eradicate. They breed fast, they adapt fast, they scatter and regroup. The same biological trait that made medieval cat purges fail is the same trait making 21st century wildlife management fail. They are, in the most literal sense, undefeatable. So let's bring this all the way back. Cats survived every civilization because they never needed any of them. They showed up useful, stayed independent, spread invisibly through trade and travel, endured 3 centuries of organized persecution that would have wiped out any other animal, and came back stronger every time. The trait that looks like aloofness? That's the independence paradox, the refusal to be reshaped. The trait that looks like wandering? That's the same instinct that put them on Viking ships and Silk Road caravans. The trait that looks like stubbornness? That's what made them impossible to eradicate across 10,000 years of human civilization. Every empire that tried to use them got used back. Every civilization that tried to destroy them paid a price. And the cat on your couch right now carries every single one of these traits, completely intact like nothing ever happened. Which, when you think about it, is exactly how they would want it. If you want to go deeper on the psychology of cats in ways nobody talks about, there's another video right here that I think you'll find just as interesting. And if this one genuinely surprised you, drop a comment with the fact that hit hardest. The Viking cats one still gets me. I'll see you in the next one.